There comes a moment in life when everything shifts. You've poured your heart out, you've fought for love, you've tried to prove your worth, and yet the one person you wanted the most kept pulling away. You've cried, begged, explained, overanalyzed every text message, every silence, every cold response. And for the longest time, you felt like maybe you weren't enough. But then something changes inside you. One morning, you wake up and you're just done. Not in anger, not in bitterness, but in pure freedom. You no longer chase. You no longer fight. You stop rehearsing conversations in your head. You stop obsessing over when they'll come around. You stop handing over your power. And in that very moment, when your energy detaches, when your spirit no longer seeks their validation, something unexpected happens. The avoidant, the one who ran, the one who feared closeness, the one who seemed untouchable, suddenly begins to feel the ground beneath their feet shake. Because here's the truth, avoidants are not unaffected. They're not stone walls. They're human beings with deep emotions. Emotions they've spent a lifetime trying to suppress. They fear closeness, yes, but they also fear abandonment. They fear losing their independence, but they fear even more losing the one person who truly saw them. And when you stop caring, when your heart turns away, when your energy no longer feeds their avoidance, suddenly they feel the loss. Suddenly they realize you were the anchor they didn't even know they needed. This is the paradox of the avoidant. When you run toward them, they flee. But when you turn away, when you reclaim your power, they chase. And the chase isn't about ego alone, it's about survival. It's about the sudden awareness that what they thought they could control, what they thought they could keep at arm's length, is slipping away for good. And so, the tables turn. The one who once pulled away now pulls forward. The one who once left your messages unseen now becomes the one sending you long texts at midnight. The one who once feared commitment begins to fear losing you. And in that shift, you realize something powerful. You never had to beg for love. You never had to prove your worth. You only needed to stop giving your power away. Today, I want to walk you through the 7 key stages of this transformation. 7 truths about what happens inside an avoidant when you stop caring and why it leads them to chase you. If you take these principles not just into your love life, but into every relationship you hold, you will never again find yourself begging to be loved. You'll understand that real power comes when you detach, when you live fully in your own strength, and when you realize you were the prize all along. Let's begin. When you stop caring, you take away the oxygen that fuels an avoidant's comfort zone. Avoidants thrive on distance. They're comfortable when you're the one chasing, when you're the one over-investing, because it allows them to hold back without guilt. Your pursuit gives them control. But when that pursuit ends, when you stop checking in, when you no longer react to their hot and cold games, they feel the sudden emptiness. That emptiness is terrifying for them because the very thing they feared, emotional closeness, has now been replaced by an even greater fear. Losing the connection altogether. You see, avoidants operate from subconscious programming. They crave intimacy but fear it at the same time. So when you stop caring, you disrupt their entire emotional pattern. It's like pulling the rug out from under their feet. They thought you'd always be there, always waiting, always hoping. And suddenly you're not. Suddenly the script has changed and they are no longer in control. This is the very moment they begin to chase. Because for the first time, the risk of losing you outweighs the fear of being close to you. The shift happens in stages. At first, they might pretend not to notice. They might convince themselves that your silence is temporary. But as time passes and they see your energy truly detached, their subconscious panic begins to grow. That panic is what drives their chase, not because they suddenly became a different person overnight, but because they are now faced with a reality they never planned for. You are no longer emotionally available, and nothing triggers an avoidant more than the thought of abandonment becoming real. This is where your power lies. You don't have to manipulate, you don't have to play games. You don't have to send mixed signals. All you have to do is genuinely stop caring, stop investing in someone who isn't investing back. And in that space, the avoidant wakes up. They realize your energy was the fuel, your love was the anchor, and your presence was the gift they took for granted. The moment you stop caring, you show them, without words, that you will no longer carry the weight of the relationship alone, and that's when they start to chase. When you stop caring, the avoidant begins to lose their sense of control, and that terrifies them more than anything else. Control is their shield. It's the armor they wear to keep themselves safe from vulnerability. As long as you're the one texting first, making plans, asking for clarity, they get to decide how close or far they want to be. They get to hold the power of choice, keeping you on an emotional leash. But the moment you step away, the leash snaps. Suddenly, they are no longer dictating the rhythm of the relationship. You are. And this shift throws them into a state of confusion and urgency they are not accustomed to. Avoidants often build their entire identity around independence. They've convinced themselves that they don't need anyone. But here's the truth they never admit: they absolutely need connection. They crave love, they crave intimacy, but on their own terms. When you stop caring, you remove the comfort of knowing that love is always within arm's reach. Suddenly, their safety net disappears. This loss of control forces them into a place of self-reflection. They start asking themselves questions they've been running from for years. Why do I keep pushing away the one person who actually cares for me? What if they never come back? What if I lose them for good? And those questions spark fear. Not the kind of fear they can hide behind walls or distractions, but raw human fear. The fear of regret. The fear of waking up one day and realizing they pushed away the best thing in their life. This is why they begin to chase. It's not because they've suddenly figured out their attachment issues overnight. It's because losing control forces them to confront the truth they've been avoiding. They care more than they let on. The irony is that you don't have to argue, beg, or fight for this realization. In fact, the less you do, the faster it happens. By stepping back, you expose the illusion of their control. You reveal that their strategy of pushing you away only works as long as you're willing to chase. Once you no longer participate in the game ends. And when the game ends, the avoidant realizes they've been playing alone. This is why silence can be louder than any words you could ever say. Your absence speaks volumes. Your lack of reaction becomes the mirror that shows them exactly what they've done. And as painful as that realization is for them, it's also what drives them to shift. Control slips from their hands, and suddenly they're the ones calling, the ones checking in, the ones searching for ways to reconnect. Because without your energy feeding the dynamic, their sense of security collapses, and with it, their illusion of control. When you stop caring, you trigger the avoidant's deepest hidden wound, the fear of abandonment. On the surface, avoidants appear confident, self-sufficient, even cold. But beneath that exterior is a child who once felt unseen, unheard, or unworthy of unconditional love. That child grew up learning to protect themselves by staying distant. But make no mistake, the wound is still there, and nothing exposes it faster than when someone they counted on emotionally withdraws. When you cared, when you pursued, when you gave and gave, you soothed that wound. You reassured them, even if they pushed you away, that you were still there. But when you stop caring, the silence is deafening. Suddenly, the fear they've been running from since childhood rises to the surface. What if I'm truly unlovable? What if this is proof that everyone eventually leaves me? What if they've finally seen through me and decided I'm not enough? These are the thoughts that begin to haunt them. This is why avoidants often swing from dismissive to panicked when someone finally pulls away. At first, they may act indifferent, pretending not to notice. But as days turn into weeks, that silence begins to eat at them. They start replaying memories in their head, analyzing what they did wrong, wondering if they pushed too far. The wound of abandonment, so carefully buried under layers of detachment, suddenly bleeds. And in that raw, vulnerable state, they begin to chase. Not just because they want you back, but because they desperately want to stop the wound from bleeding again. What's powerful here is understanding that you didn't cause this wound. You only revealed it. Your detachment brought it to the surface, but it was always there. This is why your shift in energy becomes such a catalyst for their behavior. When you stop caring, you force them to face the very thing they've been running from, their fear of being left behind. Now, some avoidants may try to mask this fear with pride, pretending they don't care. But behind closed doors, the silence eats at them. They check your social media, they replay your old conversations, they wonder why you're not reaching out. The fear of abandonment becomes so loud they can no longer silence it. And that's when the chase begins. Because deep down, Their greatest terror is not closeness, it's being forgotten. And when you stop caring, you show them that being forgotten is not only possible, it's happening. When you stop caring, you reclaim your power. And when you reclaim your power, the avoidant feels the imbalance shift in a way they cannot ignore. Relationships, especially with avoidance, often become a tug of war for emotional energy. You pull, they resist; you give, they retreat. And unknowingly, you begin to carry the weight of both sides. You become the one holding the relationship together while they take the comfort of knowing you won't leave. But when you finally let go, when you stop caring, the entire balance of power shifts. Suddenly, you're no longer waiting on their texts. You're no longer rearranging your schedule for them. You're no longer pouring energy into a cup that never fills yours back. Instead, you turn inward. You focus on your life, your growth, your joy. You pour into yourself, and that shift is magnetic. Avoidants sense energy more than words. They may not admit it, but they feel it. When your energy detaches, when your focus is no longer on them, they notice. And that noticing creates a deep discomfort. They realize the dynamic they relied on has changed. You're no longer the one trying to prove your worth. They now have to prove theirs. And for someone who built their identity around emotional distance, this is both terrifying and irresistible. Your power is not in chasing, it's in pulling back. Because the moment you reclaim it, the avoidant begins to feel the vacuum of your absence. They may have once mistaken your care for weakness, but now they see your strength in your silence. And that strength forces them to reevaluate everything. They start to wonder, why aren't they chasing me anymore? Who are they giving their attention to instead? Have I lost the one person who truly cared about me? This is why avoidants begin to chase once you stop caring, because your reclaimed power shines a light on their own lack of control. It forces them to step into the role you once carried. They now have to do the work to keep the connection alive. And in that process, they discover something they never admitted before. They need you more than you ever needed them. When you stop caring, you ignite curiosity in the avoidant's mind, and curiosity is one of the most powerful motivators of human behavior. Avoidants often assume they know how the dynamic will play out. They expect you to keep reaching out. They expect you to continue pouring into the relationship, no matter how little they give in return. And for a while, you may have proven them right. But when you stop caring, when your energy shifts and you no longer operate from the same pattern, something inside them sparks. What changed? Why aren't they reacting the way they used to? What are they doing that's keeping them so detached from me? This curiosity grows into obsession. At first, they may try to brush it off, telling themselves you're just busy or distracted. But when your silence continues, their mind begins to wander. They picture you with someone else. They imagine you living your best life without them. They wonder if you've outgrown them, if you've finally woken up to the fact that you deserve better. And these questions cut deep because avoidants build their defense mechanism on predictability. They feel safe when they can predict your behavior. The moment that predictability disappears, they feel destabilized. Now here's where the chase begins. Humans are wired to seek what they can't easily have. It's why the forbidden fruit has always been the most tempting. And when you stop caring, you become the forbidden fruit. Your energy shifts from always available to mysteriously unavailable. And in that shift, the avoidant suddenly sees you in a new light. You're no longer the predictable presence they could take for granted. You're the prize they risk losing forever. This is why curiosity is so powerful. It doesn't just make them wonder, it makes them act. They start testing the waters, sending messages, reaching out, dropping breadcrumbs to see how you'll respond. They may not come running with a full confession of love, but they will chase in subtle, persistent ways. Because deep down, they need to solve the mystery of why you no longer care. Your strength lies in maintaining this shift genuinely. Don't fake it. Don't pretend you don't care while secretly still obsessing. Because avoidance can feel the difference between performance and reality. When your detachment is authentic, when you've truly redirected your energy into yourself, they will feel it, and that curiosity will turn into pursuit. They'll want to know who you've become without them, and in that pursuit, they reveal what they've been running from all along: their need for you. When you stop caring, The avoidant begins to re-evaluate your worth in a way they never did before. While you were chasing, while you were giving endlessly, they saw your love as something guaranteed, something permanent. And human nature is often blind to what is always available. But the moment your love is no longer guaranteed, the moment your attention is no longer free, they begin to realize what they've lost and what they stand to lose forever. This shift is profound because it forces them to confront their own blindness. They replay the moments when you tried to get closer, when you gave them chances, when you offered love without conditions. And for the first time they feel regret. They begin to see that what they once dismissed was actually rare, valuable, and deeply meaningful. This regret is heavy because avoidants often pride themselves on being unaffected. But the absence of your care is undeniable. It lingers in their mind like an echo. Here's what happens psychologically. Avoidants are often wired to minimize closeness as a form of self-protection. But when closeness disappears altogether, they feel the vacuum. And in that vacuum, they start to assign more value to what they lost. It's the law of scarcity in action. What is scarce becomes valuable, and what is abundant is often overlooked. Your love, once abundant, has now become scarce, and therefore priceless in their eyes. This realization fuels their chase. They begin to wonder if it's too late. They fear someone else will recognize your worth before they do. They imagine you moving forward, building a life where they no longer exist. And this fear drives them into action. Suddenly, the avoidant who once seemed indifferent now becomes attentive, communicative, even desperate. Not because you demanded it, but because they finally see your worth through the lens of scarcity. What's important here is understanding that their recognition is not about you changing. It's about you returning to yourself. When you stop caring, you're not becoming colder or harsher. You're simply reclaiming the love and energy you gave away too freely. And in that reclamation, you shine brighter. You show them and yourself that your worth was never dependent on their validation. And ironically, it's in that moment of self-worth that they finally begin to see it too. Avoidants chase not because they suddenly discovered love, but because they finally recognize what was always there. And once they feel the fear of losing it, they'll do what they've never done before. They'll chase to keep it. When you stop caring, you force the avoidant into transformation. Avoidants often live in a cycle. They crave love, then fear it. They seek closeness, then retreat from it. It's a pattern born of survival, rooted in childhood experiences where love felt unsafe, conditional, or inconsistent. And as long as you chase them, as long as you feed the cycle, they never have to face it. But when you stop caring, when you step back, you break the cycle. And in breaking it, you give them the one gift they didn't even know they needed: the opportunity to change. At first, they may resist this transformation. They may feel angry, confused, even betrayed by your sudden detachment. But as time passes, they begin to sit with emotions they've avoided their entire lives. They feel the sting of regret. They feel the emptiness of distance. They feel the raw ache of losing someone who once saw them fully. And for avoidants, this is not just about missing you. It's about confronting themselves. Here's the truth: transformation rarely comes from comfort. It comes from discomfort, from loss, from those moments when life shakes us awake. Your detachment becomes that awakening. For the first time, the avoidant is forced to ask themselves, why do I keep running from love? Why do I push away the people who care for me the most? What am I so afraid of? And these questions, while painful, are the beginning of growth. This is why many avoidants begin to chase when you stop caring, not just to get you back, but because chasing you represents something bigger. It represents their fight against the old patterns that kept them stuck. It represents their attempt to reclaim a love they thought they could control but realized they could lose. And while not every avoidant transforms fully, the ones who do often look back at this moment as the turning point, the moment they stopped running and started learning how to love. But here's the beauty: whether they change or not, you have already won, because in choosing to stop caring, you've transformed yourself. You've stopped playing the rescuer. You've stopped pouring into someone who wasn't ready to receive. You've broken free of the cycle that drained your energy. And in doing so, you've created space for love that flows both ways. The avoidance chase is proof of your power, not because you manipulated them, but because you healed yourself enough to stop begging. And in that healing, you opened the door for transformation, both for them and for you. The truth is, relationships with avoidance can feel like a battlefield full of hot and cold moments of closeness and distance, of longing and frustration. And for so long, you may have believed the only way to win was to keep fighting for their love. But the greatest lesson you've discovered is that the battle ends when you lay your weapons down. When you stop caring, you stop feeding the war. And in that silence, everything changes. You've seen now that avoidants are not immune to love. They are not stone walls, unfeeling or indifferent. They are human beings with wounds, fears, and desires. And when you stop chasing them, when you pull your energy back, they feel the weight of that loss more than they ever expected. That loss cracks the walls they built around their hearts. It makes them question their patterns. It pushes them to chase what they once feared. But more importantly, this journey has taught you something about yourself. You were never powerless. You were never unworthy. You simply gave too much of your energy to someone who wasn't ready to receive it. The moment you turned inward, the moment you stopped caring, you remembered the truth. You are the prize. You are the anchor. You are the one who brings value, love, and strength into the relationship. And whether or not the avoidant transforms, you will never again forget that truth. Life has a way of teaching us the same lesson until we finally learn it. And this was your lesson. Stop pouring into empty cups. Stop trying to prove your worth. Stop begging for love, because love that is real does not need to be begged for. It flows naturally, it grows, it expands. And when you carry that truth into your future, every relationship you enter will feel different. You will no longer settle for half love. You will only welcome love that matches your energy. So when an avoidant realizes you don't care anymore, yes, they may start to chase you. But whether they do or not, your freedom is already here. You've broken the cycle, you've reclaimed your power, and you've stepped into a new chapter of life where love is no longer a struggle, it's a gift. Thank you for giving your heart, your time, and your attention to this message. Remember, everything you heard today isn't just about avoidance, it's about life. It's about reclaiming your worth, remembering your value, and refusing to give your power away. If this message resonated with you, know that you are not alone. Countless others have walked the same path, felt the same pain, and discovered the same freedom. The moment you stop caring in desperation is the moment you start living in strength. So hold your head high. Walk with courage, and remember, you were never chasing them. They were always chasing the version of themselves they wish they could be. And now, you get to walk free. Thank you for listening. Stay strong, stay powerful, and until next time, take care of your heart. Goodbye.